All right, awesome. So we can get started?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Good evening. My name is Rufaro. I might know a few of you, might not know everybody, but yeah, definitely welcome. Thank you, Miss Candalada, for this platform and that you've put together. She was telling me that she wanted to start a women's support group with, kind of different topics. So anything to support women and help each other out. So I think this segment is kind of just focusing a little bit on, it says financial literacy, but this is definitely more so to just help folks take action, go from surviving to thriving, but also somewhat informational, because there's a lot of things out there that once you're conscious of it, it's a no-brainer. It actually helps you motivate you for your own goals, and everybody has different goals. So once again, my name is Rufaro. I am a student at Regent University. I've been kind of going through a program where I'm studying strategic leadership, but I dabble in all things entrepreneurship, finance, and personal finance is just something that I'm passionate about. I just like doing it for fun, for free, but I love helping out women. So whether it's from personal finance or with business, is something that I'm really passionate about. So I'm going to share this screen and go ahead and get started because I think we do have somewhat of a time limit. Let's see if you're able to allow me to share my screen. Is that possible?
Let's see.
It says it has it disabled at the moment.
Disabled.
And while she figures that out, I don't want to waste any time as well. So yeah, the purpose of this is really to just, again, it's a support group, so it's informal. Feel free, throughout this to chime in. I will also ask kind of like for other people's experience. And I am also 100% transparent too. So I'm going to share some stuff that I do, stuff that's worked for me in the past, stuff that hasn't worked for me, and just kind of, go around the group and see what's work for other folks, because I believe in simplicity. And so sometimes actually seeing how other folks are doing things can go a long way as well. So let's see if we can get
It says allow participants to share screen.
Okay, so let me try now. Yay, now I can see it. Great. Let me do it. Let me share. So I'm assuming you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Everybody can see that? It says financial literacy.
Well, now it's a sure. I think this is slide 1, but prior to that, it said for
okay. Sorry, I have multiple screens, so I needed to make sure which one you all look at. So can you all see that? It says financial literacy.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Want to make sure y'all can see that. So, okay, great. So once again, my name is Rufaro. I'm really passionate about helping women go from surviving to thriving. So whether that's personal finance or your business, I am all for it. And I will dig for the research and for the resources to help you figure out whatever you're trying to do. I like to connect people. And if that helps, hey, I'm more than happy to do that. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So brief overview, I'll do a mini introduction, which I've kind of already started. We'll go into a little bit of a group share, and there's going to be like 4 items on the screen that we can kind of go around the group and share, because it really does go a long way. I don't want to be the only one talking. Of course, think of me more of just facilitating the discussion, really. And then there's a small little exercise if you all have time, and it's not really like a long exercise, it's just 8 questions, where if you have a blank piece of paper, we'll be able to do a quick little exercise that will take no more than 2 minutes, and it can actually tell you, based on research, certain parameters, how financially healthy you are. So when I did this, I was a little shocked, like, oh my goodness. And I'll break down the model. It's really simple. It's broken down from whether you are what they call financially vulnerable, financially coping, or financially healthy. So it's very, very interesting. I found it very, very educational as well. And the basis of all this whole session, because there are three, is to really help you be more conscious so that you know your money. But you can't do that until you actually realize the different factors that are contributing to how we survive and thrive as women financially. So it's a really cool kind of a tool there to use. And then we'll talk about perspective on budgeting, because a lot of people kind of have, again, how you perceive a lot of these things, it will determine how motivated you'll be. And then that'll determine whether or not you actually hit your financial goals. So a lot of times we just jump to, oh, I have this financial goal. I want to clear debt. I want more savings. I want to buy a house. But being conscious of all the different factors that go into that actually help you be way more successful than if you just go straight to like, oh, I heard of Dave Ramsey, or oh, I heard of this. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I use elements of Dave Ramsey's baby steps, but you got to do what works for you. So that's the whole purpose of all of this. And then I'm going to share some free resources, free apps, so that you can, like, before the end of this, you already have something that, you know what, I'm gonna go try that out. Or you can kind of have perspective, like, I've used, X, Y, and Z this way, and I'll visually share like what that actually looks like. So that's that in a nutshell. So I kind of already talked a little bit about myself. I have a bunch of random pictures up here. Why? Because I'm a visual person. And I kind of have a little bit of a few words up there: faith, family, flexibility, food, fun. And that's going to come into play later on when we're doing the score, like, hey, what motivates you to, be financially, I call it financially flexible. A lot of people say financial freedom, but I call it being financially flexible, because sometimes even if some people want to retire early and all this stuff, they still need some sort of supplement income or whatnot. But faith, family, flexibility, food, fun, those are the things that motivate me to go after my goals. So everybody has different things. And then I'm originally from Zimbabwe. So you might see a flag here, a blended flag. That's the Zimbabwean flag and the United States flag, because I was born in Zimbabwe. And I pretty much have gone to school in the United States and grew up in the United States since like middle school. So that's kind of my background and how I perceive things. I'm in school, hoping to graduate next year, class of 2024. I like all things finance, economics, money, business. I get into all kinds of stuff. So I just wanted to say that as a background, because these are the things that motivate me. And also traveling. I love to travel. And there's a picture here. I actually went there when I was a child. This is in Zimbabwe, on the border of Zimbabwe and Zambia. And that's one of my motivations too. I want to graduate so I could do literally like a 2-month hiatus in Victoria Falls. So this is a picture of Victoria Falls. And these are the things that motivate me to actually pay attention to my personal finance and things of that nature. So group share. I would like to know, just as like a poll, and whoever wants to go first, feel free. These are the 4 things on the screen here. What you feel is your biggest financial barrier. What's motivating you to change, or what even motivated you to tune in and listen to this Zoom? What's worked for you in the past, or what hasn't worked for you in the past? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in meeting your goals? So would anyone like to share, or anyone like to jump in, kind of what motivates them, or what they feel is their biggest financial barrier?
I'll go.
All right.
I would say that in the past, at first it was finding income that could cover all of my needs. But now things have shifted so much. It's the struggle between doing things that are fun and amazing and being responsible all the time. It's like, go to another country or save and eat broccoli so that I can be fiscally responsible. And I almost always pick going somewhere. My biggest motivation for change is wanting home ownership. What
Mhm.
hasn't worked in the past, being an entrepreneur, actually, I endured a lot of poverty in my first couple of years of being a small business owner, only being a small business owner, I would say.
Mhm.
On my scale of 1 to 10 to meet the goal, now I would say it's an 8. Most of it is based on discipline now.
Okay, awesome. Anyone else like to share their experience or particularly their, what has been their biggest barrier? Because I'll kind of shed some light on that. And I'll do a little disclosure. It might make you feel a little bit angry at the world and society, but it's okay. We're in this together. So anyone else like to share?
I can share.
All right.
It's Queenette. Just the sake of joining in. Plus, I actually joined this seminar, this meeting, because I really love everything finance, just like you.
Mhm.
Anything and everything finance, I'm in it to win it. But to jump on the questions, what is the biggest financial barrier? My biggest one was I was house poor. It was a past because now I changed that. It was something that I did change, but the barrier was that I realized that I was putting so much of my income into my home that I became house poor. Biggest motivation to change. My kids are now, I have 2 kids. One is getting ready to turn 18 and getting ready to go to college, and the other one's 12. And so they have been always my motivation, but the fact that they're now getting to that age where they're becoming individual and adults, that has been the biggest motivation because now I'm in another bracket of finance
Right.
with them. To go to the next question, what has and hasn't worked in the past? So the funny things you touched on, Dave Ransby and Susie Orsman, those things have not worked for me. And I think it's only because I have been easily distracted with life. Things happen. So it hasn't worked for me, but it did work in a period of time when I utilized it and made it work. But when I looked at it in the long term, it didn't work for me just because I wasn't able to balance the learning and the teachings with natural life changes.
Right.
Then to go to the last question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident am I to meet my goal? So I do have a goal to purchase a second home. So I do have one home. It being house poor, I was able to turn that house poor or that financial barrier into a solution by putting renters into that home. So now I'm making some form of income from what was becoming a barrier. So my goal is to purchase my second home. Of course, that is a large goal, and that's not something I'm trying to do immediate, but in terms of just having a goal, that is my goal. And on that scale, I am at a 7. It's a good number of completion, but that's my scale of confidence at this point. And I'm hoping as I keep learning and keeping myself disciplined, it will be at least a 9.
Gotcha. Awesome. Those are great. And I love how you were able to recognize that, you know what, the Dave Ramsey thing wasn't working for me. And that's okay. A lot of people feel like they need to be boxed into a certain, and that's not necessarily the case. I always say you simplify things. You got to do what works for you. What may work for someone who's seasoned and, maybe their kids are out of college, they're in a different phase. So maybe what they're recommending is good, but it's not practical for you. So I really love that feedback. Is anyone else like to share? All right, awesome. So this is really good because these are common things. The reason why we also do group share, one, it's a women's support group, right? But it's also to realize that, oh, I'm not the only one, going through this. So, oh, I had a similar kind of situation. So that's great. So these are kind of like summarized based on research. These are the top 4 as of 2022. These are the top 4 challenges, or you can say barriers to financial health for women. And I will say, just objectively looking at the research, it seemed to heavily focus on minority women, as in Black African American women, Latino, and then white. But for some reason, the report that I was looking at, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that I didn't see enough. This is just me objectively critiquing the research on, like, let's say, Asian women or some other groups. So, but overall, collectively as women, these were the top 4. So the first one was income inequalities and discrimination. And I have 82% listed up there because sometimes it's important to be conscious about what are all the things that are actually impacting you that you don't realize. Now, the 82% represents that income inequalities, wage gap, and things of that nature. For every dollar that a man owns, women only earn 82 cents on the dollar. And that's a huge amount, because you're like, wait, so that's like a good 18%. Like, we're doing the same work, but they're earning 18% more. So sometimes in the long term, that has a huge effect. And that's not a surprise. That's been the situation for many, many decades. But it's good to know that, right? And then oppressive debt. And of the oppressive debt, the research that was pulled with the survey, 25% of women said that they didn't feel that they can pursue their goals in terms of like purchasing a house or pursuing a higher education because of oppressive debt. And oppressive debt was defined as primarily student loans or medical bills. Student loans, we all know, everybody's, it can definitely be oppressive. And then medical bills specifically for women, because, women, we have children, whether you're married or you're not married. So there's definitely some inequalities there that should be recognized, so that you're just conscious of it, that, wow, like, I really want to pay attention to this because these things actually do impact me. Sometimes we feel like it doesn't always impact. And then the increased cost of care, those were primarily 45% of women said that they were concerned with the increased cost of care, primarily childcare, and then if you were a caregiver. Also, women tend to be more of the caregiver, let's say if you have aging parents or things of that nature. And then insufficient savings for retirement, which was a really big one, where 42%, only 42% felt that they may be somewhat ready for long-term savings and retirement, which means that there's 58% out there that are not ready. So the majority are not ready, do not have that long-term plan in place. And there's many factors in that, whether you're married or not. Some have access to those things, or things are primarily in maybe, let's say, your husband's name, host of different reasons. So these are good things to know, again, just to be conscious of, because it helps you be conscious of your budget and how things are kind of going for you. 1 in 5 women are considered financially healthy. So that means 80% of women are not in the financially healthy category, which is really, really shocking. But again, it's because of some of these factors that, affect us all. And then at the bottom there, it says only 11% of Black women and 7% of Latina women are financially healthy. By contrast, the same figure rises to 25% for white women. So there is a host of things that, I'm not saying this to be like, oh my goodness, society's out to get us, as women, but I'm sharing this so that you're more conscious of it. And then it can lead you to be more conscious about your budget and maybe see what may work moving forward in the future. So how to be conscious, essentially knowing your money. We're going to go ahead and jump into that exercise that I was talking about, but let me explain it before we get into that. Again, there's three main categories that come up that contribute to your financial health score. So it's either you're financially vulnerable, financially coping, or financially healthy. And there's 8 questions. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go through those 8 questions so that you all can I'm gonna pull that up real quick so that you all, but in the meantime, if you all have a piece of paper nearby or anything to calculate, it's just 8 questions. We take the average of 2 questions each to come up with your score. So let me give you just 30 seconds to do that while I pull up the questions. And when I did this score, like I said, there's 4 main categories. The first category categorizes how well you spend, your spend category. Second is saving. Third is borrowing. And fourth is planning, like long-term planning for planning ahead. And for me, my lowest area was the saving section. That's where I score the lowest. And I'm very aware of that. And it's good because I'm very aware I'm in school right now. So a lot of the savings have gone to tuition. And I've kind of put in my mind like, okay, this is a temporary thing. Once I get through that, I can give back to, maybe trying to save more in doing that. So it's a very, very good toolkit. Just understand that the scores listed here are the national averages. So does everybody have like just a paper or something that can do a quick calculation of, again, it's just adding, and then we're going to divide to take an average of just eight questions. Does everybody have like a paper or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So let me pull up the scores here that we're using. Again, it's 4 main categories: spend, save, borrow, and plan. And those are the different categories that I just mentioned there. So let me go down to the questions. So the first question says, which of the following statements best describes your household total spending compared to total income? So do you feel like, to what extent, maybe let's say over the past 12 months, you spend more than you, spending was much less than income, spending was a little less than income, spending was about equal, spending was a little more than income, or much more. So we're talking about question 1 here. And let me know if you all can see that. Make it a little bit bigger. And you can select which one. Once you've selected that one, I'm gonna slide it down here so you can do the second question. Or you can do 2 at a time. Second question. So just note which answer is, you feel like most best describes you. And then after we're done, I'll assign points and it'll make sense after we're done. But just make sure you know which is your answer.
So
You had a question, Candace?
yeah, so do I put like a number or a letter to it, or just put what the answer is for one?
Yeah, just mark what your answer is, or write down, oh, for me, I feel like spending was about equal to income for the past 12 months.
Okay.
Like whatever you feel like is your answer, essentially. Okay, everybody got their number 1 done?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Number 2, which of the following statements best describes how your household has paid its bills over the last 12 months? So do you feel like you paid all your bills on time, nearly on time, most of the time, some of the time? Very few of our bills are paid on time. Just mark whatever answer you feel is yours.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see that screen.
Oh, okay, sure. I could say the question. Do you want number 1 or number 2?
I'm already writing the answers on my piece of paper. Is that enough?
Yeah, whatever you only need to write what your answer is. You don't need to write everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So you did number 1?
Yes, I did.
All right. You did number 2?
Yep.
Awesome. Number 3. At your current level of spending, how long could you and your household afford to cover expenses let's say if your income went away. So essentially, how long do you feel like your savings will last? Do you think it'll last 6 or more months, 3 to 5 months, 1 to 5 months, 1 to 3 weeks, or less than a week? So just mark your answer. Okay. Everybody got that one? All right, number 4. How confident are you that your household is currently doing what it needs to for long-term goals? So some of those goals that we were talking about that you were sharing maybe earlier, some of you, how confident do you feel? Very confident, moderately, slightly, not at all? Just mark down your answer. And again, this all will make sense in about like 1 minute because I'll assign points and then you'll be able to know, we'll be able to calculate the category for you, your FIM score.
I'm sorry.
Number 5.
What was number 4?
Number 4 is how confident do you feel that your household, and when we say household, it could be you or who, we're assuming that you're head of your household. How confident are you that you're doing what you need to achieve your long-term goals? So earlier in the discussion or the session, we were sharing some of our goals. For me, it's like, oh, I want to graduate, student debt free. I want to, travel. So whatever your goals are, how confident are you that you're doing what you need to financially to meet that?
Can I ask a complex question? So
Sure.
what if you're doing what you need to do, but you just started? So as opposed to someone who was doing it for 5 years, your confidence might feel low because you started like yesterday. So you're technically doing it, but you haven't been that long.
So you're fine because the question asks if you're currently doing it.
Okay.
So you're fine. Even if it was like last week, you started doing what you needed to do. You're currently doing it. You're good. All right, number 5, so we can move it along. As of today, which of the following statements describes how manageable your household debt is? Do you feel like you don't have any debt at all? You have manageable debt, have a bit more debt than is manageable, or have far more debt than is manageable? So we're at number 5. Okay, and number 6. How would you rate your credit score? It's an easy one. Do you feel like it's excellent, good, fair, poor? Just write down your answer. We're almost done. 2 more. Number 7, how confident are you that that the insurance policies you have are going to be sufficient in case of an emergency? So how confident are you in whatever insurance policies you have, whether it's home, vehicle, health, life insurance? Just list your confident level there. Very confident, moderately, somewhat. I think for me, for that answer, I had moderately confident. I don't have too many responsibilities, so I'm sure that would change as a couple years go by. Well, number 8, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement? My household plans ahead financially. So that's that long-term planning, and it's simple. Do you agree, strongly agree somewhat, neither, disagree somewhat, or strongly disagree? Okay. Is there any question that I need to repeat?
Actually, Lisa, sorry. I need to go back to the time spans for number 3.
Okay, sure. Is that Courtney?
Yeah.
Hi, Courtney.
Hey.
Sure. Okay, number 3. Number 3 was, at your current level of spending, how long could you and your household afford to cover expenses? So essentially, your emergency fund. This is what this question is asking. Do you feel like you'll be okay for 6 months, 3 to 5 months, 1 to 2, 1 to 3 weeks, or less than a week?
Okay. And we're currently on question 7.
I think we were just doing the last one. So 7 was about the insurance. How confident are you in all your insurance policies that are applicable to you, that you have? And it's going to be different for everybody. And then number 8 is which statement do you agree with about how well you're doing your long-term financial planning? Do you agree strongly, somewhat, or disagree, whichever you feel? Number 8 for me was agree strongly, because I'm on it. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because I'm in school, so I have to keep a tight budget on stuff. All right, so we have a few more minutes, so let me make sure I want to be able to calculate this for you. So going back to number one, let's pull up the scores here so that you know exactly what you're. So for number 1, depending on your, whatever you wrote down, you know your answers. You don't need to tell me. These are the points assigned to it. So based on the question, the answer you wrote down, these are the points that you put. So for me, number 1, I was spending little less than income. So I got 75 points for number 1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So whatever you put for your answer, just note down your points. And then number 2, here's number 2 for household. My household has been financially able to pay bills on time or not. For me, I put pay all bills on time. This is primarily because I have automated, payments. So I had 100 points for that one. Does everybody see the points clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me quickly go through it. Number 3, whatever your answer was, these are the points assigned to it. For this one, I wasn't doing too good. I'm in school, so I think I had like 50 points or 25 points. All right, number 4. Right, just mark down your answer. I'm just trying to make sure everybody's seeing their points here. Everybody's good?
Yes.
Okay. Borrow. How well you're managing your debt. Note down your points. For 5, for 6, credit score.
Lisa, don't kill me. Can you go back?
Mhm.
The one after paying your bills timely, that was question 3 or 4.
Question 2 was paying your bills on time.
Okay,
So you want number 3?
I need number 4. Sorry, my
Gotcha.
questions are out of sequence for some reason.
No problem. Number 4 was how confident are you in your household is doing what it needs to meet your long-term goals. So we're over here.
I can move to 5. Sorry about that.
No problem. I want to make sure you get your points, because once you have your points, it's really easy to calculate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is how manageable is your debt if you have any. So this is where I think for me, I put I have manageable amount of debt. So I had 85 points on that.
So it's not Dave Ramsey debt where you only have a mortgage.
Yeah, for this one, it includes mortgages. Yeah, so Dave Ramsey, he can be a little extreme. So. So, number 6, how would you rate your credit score? Everybody got that one?
And that's not you just rating it. That's you using the rating they give you.
Right, yeah. Okay, everybody got the number 6. Number 7, how confident are you in your insurance policies? I'm just sharing, just to be transparent. I had moderately confident, so I have 75. But I know that it's gonna change, as I get more like responsibilities and liabilities and whatnot. And number 8, my household plans ahead financially. How strongly do you agree with that? And then note down your points. All right, everybody got their points?
I don't know. I feel unsure about number 8.
Yeah.
It's too subjective. Like when you say ahead, like next week, next month, next year.
Yeah, this is long-term planning. Just how strongly, to what extent do you agree with the statement? That you plan ahead.
Okay.
So whatever you feel like. If it's somewhat agree, then it's 65. If it's strongly agree, 100. This is all subjective, but don't worry about it. Because of the way the questions are and they're grouped, it will give you a benchmark.
Okay.
All right, everybody got their points? So all you're gonna do is now you're gonna look at your questions 1 and 2, add question 1 and 2 together, the points together, and take the average.
Oh, 1 and 2.
Yeah, so if you go back here to 1 and 2, whatever you get, let's say you had, for me, it was spending a little less than income, so I'm gonna add 75 points. With number 2, I have pay all my bills on time, so I'm gonna add 75 and 100 together. I take the average of that, I have 87. 87 is a score that I have, and that determines the spend category. And based on that, I'm considered healthy for spending habits.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
1 and 2, you add. 3 and 4, you add, take the average. 5 and 6, take the average. And then 7 and 8, take the average. Real simple. We're gonna do basic arithmetic math here. No algebra, no calculus. Okay, everybody had their scores. Take the average of each two groups there. So this is what we're doing right here. We're taking the average of your spend score, question 1 and 2, 3 and 4 was your save score, 5 and 6 is your borrow score, and 7 and 8 is your plan score. Okay, is that clear? Everybody got that?
Mhm.
All right, so once you have that, again, interpreting the score, I'm gonna go back to this. If you interpret your score, it should be able to tell you for spending category, it either grouped you as financially vulnerable, coping, or healthy based on your score. And this is the scoring tier here from 0 to 100. So for example, for my spending, I had 87.5, so that's considered healthy. And I'm just sharing this so that you all understand how this works, because I had done this ahead of time. For saving, I had 62, so it said that I'm coping. I'm hanging in there. I'm not quite in the vulnerable, but I'm coping. So, and it's good to know this because it helps you be conscious of, oh, this is where I need to, keep a tight eye on my budget. I didn't want to focus on, hey, this is how you do a budget. You can do the 50-30 rule. Yeah, I'm going to share all that. But in the next session, that's where we say, okay, this is how to get systematic. Now that you know that, okay, for Rufaro, she needs to focus on saving. You see what I'm saying? And so this is why I tell people you got to do what works for you, because what Courtney's doing is different from what Rufaro's doing, is different from what Candace is doing, et cetera, et cetera. And so for my borrow score, I was surprised with this too. I had a whopping 92.5, but it's also because it's reflective, because before I started school, I made it a point to start clearing out a lot of debt. So right now I'm just being transparent, and I'll show you the other thing, the next slide that I'm going to share. I was very intentional about, I want to clear out any credit cards. So the only debt I have right now is my car and my mortgage, which I'm on track to clear out my car. So that's actually reflective of what I'm doing. It makes sense. It's actually very accurate. And then for my plan, I had 87. So it said I'm happy. So my fin score is going to be different from your fin score. And this is just to help you be more conscious in a very objective way of what you need to focus on. So for me, I know it's say I'm not doing a very good job with saving. All my money is going to Regent University, y'all. They're in Virginia Beach. All my money is going. All right. And so again, this is the statistics that just put things into perspective, that like, wow, like goodness gracious. So, I look at myself, I'm a Black woman. I'm like, goodness. So we're all striving to be, we're either like vulnerable, financially coping, or striving to be financially healthy. And this is a statistic as of 2022 showing that we're not the only ones. Everybody's out here trying to go from surviving to thriving. So you're not the only one. Don't feel alone. And that's the purpose of this support group, is to say, you know what, we're in this together. Let's check on each other and say, girl, how's your fin score going? How's your, health, your financial health score going? Like, oh, I finally got out of the vulnerable, I'm now coping. Hey, it's progress. it's progress. So this is just to be aware, is to be conscious, because this actually is more valuable than you going straight to a Excel spreadsheet and start, crunching numbers and then forcing yourself to maybe start saving something that is just not manageable for you at this time. And that's okay. So what somebody else is doing, my main thing that I'm trying to get across is it may not work for other people. So I also wanted to pinpoint that budgeting. The reason why I didn't jump straight to budgeting again is because a lot of times budgeting, the perspective on budgeting is that it's very restrictive. But now that you know that, wow, you're not the only one, and you kind of know your areas here, maybe where you're vulnerable or you're coping, or the areas where you're healthy, then budgeting now becomes empowering, because you're like, oh, okay, cool. When I make my budget, I'm gonna focus in a certain area because I'm okay in this other area. I do fairly well maybe in long-term planning, so I can afford to do something else. So again, do what works for you. From my case, I'm just being totally transparent. I do a little mix of elements. I only do a little bit of Dave Ramsey steps because not all of that is going to work for me right now. I'm in school and I have other stuff. But I use the 50-30-20 rule. And the 50-30-20 rule says 50% of your income goes to essentials, essentially needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings. But even with that, I've switched my 50-30-20 rule. I tend to maybe, again, I've kind of changed the proportion because I'm in school. So I'm not saving 20%, and that's reflective in my financial health score because I'm going to school. So I'm paying my way through school. So again, do what works for you. Financially healthy. So I'm essentially financially healthy except for the savings. And what's motivating me to stay on top of this? Again, my faith tells me, hey, I should be a good steward of my resources, my family. I want financial flexibility. I love food and I love to have fun, and my fun includes traveling. So these are the things that help motivate me to go after that. Then maybe when I feel like I'm out of school, then maybe I might go after the other Dave Ramsey steps, or okay, now I can start investing, replenishing that emergency fund or whatever. So don't feel restricted. Do what works for you is the most important thing that I wanted to share. So here we go. So a couple free apps that work really well. Some people do zero-based budgeting. Some people do the envelope system. Some people do the 50-30-20 rule. Again, do what works for you. These are all relatively, these are all free resources that you can use. I've personally been using mint.com probably since I was out of college. Someone in college told me about it, and it's been great. It's great it helps to visually see things. But recently I'm kind of switching to use Personal Capital because they are a little bit more mature. I would say like they draw more of a little bit the mature crowd that maybe is looking to see how to invest their money long-term. So that long-term planning stage. So Personal Capital is great for that. And then when you're ready, if you want a financial advisor, they can help you with that as well. But you don't have to do that. Using their app is totally free. It's only if you take their advisory, investment advisory services that they charge for that. They take a fee. There's Good Budget. I think that's the envelope system. There's even Honeydew. So for those that are married, if you want to be, communicate with your partner, there's all sorts of free resources out there for you to do that. Does anybody have any questions about any of these apps, or has anyone tried any of these apps or recognize any of these apps? No, not much.
I've tried Mint.
You've tried Mint. How was that for you?
I didn't stay on it too long because I was trying to compare it to QuickBooks and other softwares that I've used, but I didn't, it wasn't that bad. I don't have a positive or negative experience. It was pretty much a very simple
Right.
platform.
Yeah, very simple, very user friendly. I've used it for
User-friendly.
several years. I think the reason why I like it is I'm a visual person, and like getting that visual, hey, here's a little report of your money. This is how you did this month compared to last month. Like it helps me kind of like, oh, wow, I can physically see the debt pie go smaller. And I'm like, that motivates me. You know what I mean? So again, do whatever works for you. For some people, they like the envelope system. For me, that's never really been my thing. But I've used a mix of different things like zero-based budgeting. I kind of do that a little bit. Zero-based budgeting just means you're kind of really allocating all of your income, even if you're allocating some to savings or investments, but at the end of the month, you get down to zero only because you've allocated it. You know exactly where your money is going. But I also do the 50-30-20 rule, but I've reduced the proportion for savings because that's being allocated to maybe tuition or whatnot. So again, the real main goal of this is just to share, to say, hey, this, you're not the only one. We're all out here trying to figure it out, but half the battle is being conscious. So you got to figure out what works best for you, or try different things. For me, mint.com has just been, the one that's kind of been my primary go-to, because it gives me those visuals. I can see exactly what's going on, especially cash flow. I think, cash flow management is the main thing. So
Can I add that
yeah.
I'm using is Rocket Money.
Okay, yeah.
I'm comparing that with the QuickBooks Online self-employed. And so the Money is actually a really good one. It also has an extra feature that I hadn't seen in other platforms, where it will try and actually reach out to certain vendors that it's contracted with to negotiate, such as subscription
like this bill negotiation. Gotcha.
Better and cost effective in certain subscriptions possibly that you might not need, or could actually, like, it gives you alternatives.
That's good. And that's good to know that, so that what your options are and whatnot. This is personal finance. That's the other one. I mean, personal capital. Sorry, I keep saying personal finance. Personal capital. They have a bunch of free tools, and I'm kind of getting a little bit more into that one than Mint. I still use Mint, but I like personal capital because they incorporate a lot of things. It's really like the planning ahead category question. I think personal capital has a leg up on maybe a couple of the other ones compared to that, but also really good. Maybe less visuals than Mint, but still really good. Has where's this thing where they talk about they have all sorts of stuff, but they really focus on a lot of the investment stuff, like estate planning, and if you have retirement goals, and if you purchase another property, what does that look like? And so it's amazing to be able to get all of that for free. The only time they charge is if you want them to start managing some of your investments. But apart from that, I find it extremely helpful. So that's another one to check out, to just help you be more conscious, so that you can be systematic. And then those questions about, paying bills on time, whatever, once you figure out your system, you want to automate that. And so that's what we will talk about, on the next session, is making that systematic, and then understanding that that might just be for a short time frame. You don't have to do that for a long time. I think Good Budget is the other one. Like I said, I've never used it, but some people use it. They like it. And I think that one's more like a envelope system. So again, find what works for you, and don't feel pressure to do what other people are doing. Just find what works for you. Nerd Wallet has a whole bunch of stuff that they talk about, different apps as well. And I think they launched their own as well. So there's a wealth of free resources out there. You don't need to pay anybody for that. Does anybody have any questions, or even about their FinHealth score or anything like that? Again, half the battle is being conscious about the things that affect your finances from society perspective, let alone, when you start doing your own budget and things like that, like what's really motivating you? Because once you figure out what's motivating you, and you understand and you're conscious of the things that may impact you, they tend to impact women specifically more than men. It really helps you be more conscious and create a customized approach of like, okay, this is how I'm going to tackle this. So anybody have any questions?
I didn't have a question, but I had a comment.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to say that Rufaro is very modest in her speaking. I kept giving her an opportunity to talk about her program, and she just keeps saying school, school, school. She is studying to get her PhD, and I couldn't be more proud. Behind the scenes, I call her Dr. Rufaro, Dr. Lisa. She's one of the most fiscally responsible people that I know, and just such an angel. So if you have additional questions, feel free to write them down and reach out to her directly. This is going to be a 3-session course, and the next one is not going to be on a weekday. It's actually going to be on a Saturday. It's this upcoming Saturday, and the last session is on Tuesday. So if you have a conflict, a really serious conflict, let me know and we'll see if we'll can pivot, but that's what we have laid out for you. And then in addition to finance, we're also studying anger and stress. That's on Tuesday nights, and organization on Saturday mornings. But she's a limited time offer, and I just wanted to say thank you for making time in between your studies to share your wealth of knowledge.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I'm all for supporting women. And what really motivates me is I want to see women thrive as well, because like I said, there's a lot of things that, and I'm just being frank, there's a lot of